Hello, this is Nick from Breaker Press Games, and today I want to talk about how I onboard my new players to my DCC Open Table campaign. Alright, so today's topic was actually inspired by a question from Tony McFarlane, who asked me on Twitter, do I start my new players at 0 level? And so before I get into answering that question, first and foremost, thank you to all those that support Breaker Press Games by watching these videos. Please like and subscribe. If you want to support in a greater way, my stuff is available on the Goodman Games web store, on the Breaker Press web store, through Exalted Funeral, Noble Knight Games, DriveThruRPG, itch.io. So you can get my stuff through a lot of different places. Additionally, you can support us on Patreon. This month's Patreon reward is the Hillwood Character Creation Guide. This is very similar to the Stennard Character Creation Guide, and both of these are going to come up in this video, but it is my way of getting people rolling up 0 level characters right quick. And if you are a Patreon member at $5 and above, you get something free. I shouldn't say free. You get something in the mail every month from Breaker Press, and this month's reward is the Hillwood Character Creation Guide. So, that being said, let's talk about the question. So, do I start my players at 0 level? And this is really a question of onboarding. So, I'm going to rewind a little bit and talk about how I onboard my new players. So, first and foremost, I show my existing players an awesome time so that they tell their friends. And why do I want them to have an awesome time and tell their friends? Because I want to make sure that my open table campaign has a constant supply of new blood. Because, you know, as adults, we've got plenty of reasons why, you know, people can't make it to our open table campaign, our regular sessions. And the best way to mitigate that is by over-inviting, and whatever happens, happens. So if I invite 10 people and 5 people show up, hey, awesome. If I invite 10 people and 8 people show up, equally awesome. But in order to make sure that I can over-invite and have a good crew, like a large, boisterous crew at each of my open table sessions, the way that I make sure that that happens is by making sure that I have my players have a fantastic time so that they go home and tell their friends about the awesome time that they had. And then I follow that up with second, encouraging my players to bring their friends. So, on this coming Wednesday is going to be session number 20, and there is going to be possibly 3 new players. I'm actually a little concerned I might have as many as 9 or 10 people show up. I don't think that'll happen, but it's possible. And so, you know, ultimately, you know, I think that's worth the risk. That being said, so now I've got these 3 people that are going to show up potentially. How am I going to handle that? Especially when I have, I'm on session 20, so I've got players that have characters from level 0 all the way to level 2. And I think I've got a player that's got a character that's approaching level 3. So that being said, when I have a new player that turns up, I start them at 0 level. And why do I start them at 0 level? Well, first and foremost, I want them to have the DCC experience. And so let's talk about the actual onboarding process. What do I do when that person walks through the door? Well, the first thing that happens is, depending on how busy I am, I will either walk them through the onboarding process, I will have them roll up 2 0 level characters with me, or I will have players at the table help them. You know, normally this takes, you know, about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, depending on, you know, whether I'm handling it myself or one of my players is taking care of it. And I created this character creation guide, the Stennard Character Creation Guide, specifically so that I would be able to slide this across the table. I actually, you know, have plenty of these laying around. There's probably 150 in the house right now. But that way, when somebody new comes, I can just hand them one of these and I will walk them through character creation. So, that being said, so part of the reason why I want them to have this experience is, one, by going through that 0 level character creation, I am hitting a number of touchstones. First and foremost, I am introducing them to the funky dice, because whether you're using the actual DCC Quick Start Guide, which I recommend, if you've got a couple of those, that's awesome. It's better than handing somebody this big thick book. You hand somebody this big thick book, they're going to get intimidated if they're not comfortable with RPGs. But if you hand them the Quick Start Guide, which is 30 pages, or in the case of my character creation guide, which is only 12, they're going to be a lot more comfortable with the process. So, certain of the charts in here and in the DCC Quick Start Guide, those charts are going to use the funky dice. They're going to roll a d30. They're going to roll a d24. And that's going to help get them comfortable with, even if they're comfortable with polyhedrals already, it is going to give them experience with the expanded dice chain. So the other thing that I want to do is I want to give them the opportunity to understand what my expectations are and go through, other systems, they recommend a session 0. There's no need for a session 0 in a game where your character creation is going to take you 15 minutes. But I have this thing on the back of the character creation guide that says live fully, die gloriously. And this exists for a reason, because it actually breaks down that this is a grimdark horror setting. It goes through what they can expect. And then I can use this, because I usually say at the end of character creation, now take a moment to read the back page. And this gives them a moment to understand what they are about to experience, because there's things on here about character death is normal, do not get too attached, always have another character waiting to step in, as the final step suggests, live fully and die gloriously. Now, that is my own wording. That is not in the DCC Quick Start Guide, but there are things in the DCC Quick Start Guide that give you an understanding. The whole "you're no hero" ethos, is another great way of onboarding people into DCC. Now, that being said, this gives me the opportunity to have that conversation. Are you okay with body horror? Are you going to be okay with what's about to take place? Now, in most cases, because this is something that happens in my house and not in a store, some of the crazy stuff that happens at my table has already been discussed with the people that are excited to come and play with me. They want to experience this. But that being said, it is important to have at least a cursory discussion about these things so people aren't taken by surprise. Because I do know that, some of my friends have, little quirks. That being said, it's important to be able to have that conversation, even if it's just a quick one. Next, it gives them the opportunity, by starting at 0 level, and this is very specific to why I start them at 0 level, is it gives them the opportunity to creatively problem solve. And this is, when somebody is new to a game, specifically, I get a lot of people that are new to RPGs, their default setting is to look at the character sheet to try and figure out what they should do. And thankfully, the DCC character sheet, and even my modified version, it's a quarter page, and there's not a whole lot of information on there, because a 0 level character basically has their attributes and a couple of pieces of equipment, and that's it. And so they're not going to be able to find the solution on their character sheet, and they're not going to try to. Instead, they're going to be like, I have a bag of marbles and a torch. What am I going to do with this? And that experience is, in my opinion, one of the best ways to introduce somebody to old-style role-playing games and to creative problem-solving using the RPG environment. So that being said, so that is why I start people at 0 level. I want to be able to go through the character creation. I want them to be able to set expectations with them. And I want to be able to see them creatively problem solve so they understand that this is part and parcel of what DCC is about. And yeah, that's how I do it. Maybe you do it differently. Feel free to comment in the comments. Yeah, thank you as always for supporting indie games and indie game designers. This is Nick from Breaker Press Games, signing off. Have a good one. Take care.